Greetings of peace. Today I'm going to make a video of why the current educational system isn't really designed or sufficient for men today. So I'll explain it like this. Pretty much in the school system, it's ran by females. Majority of the teachers are females. Majority of the faculty are females, and these are young boys, going through the system, and it's not really good for them. And I'll explain why. Well, here's the thing. Well, for starters, the skills you learn, the type, pretty much the way you're trained in school doesn't really prepare young men for their role in society. So pretty much, what school? So, what constitutes an A student? Obviously, an A student is somebody who could pretty much sit down, take orders, memorize, and regurgitate facts. Obviously, that's a certain kind of intelligence. That's a left brain intelligence. I'm not going to take any away from your A students, et cetera, et cetera. But here's the thing. It's a gynocentric environment. All the propensities of young men are stifled and dampened in that environment. You have to sit still. You cannot roam around. You cannot explore. You cannot really articulate or voice your opinion. If you have a dispute and you have to settle it in a physical manner, like fist to fist, you get in trouble. You get suspended for that, et cetera, et cetera. How can I put it this way? Pretty much, what young men need today, what they need is, they lack guidance. They lack guidance in many ways, but what they really need is hands-on training. They need to learn how to build things. They need to learn how to assert themselves. They need to be able to roam around and explore. They right now, currently in the school system, they're being brought up to be prissy. They're very prissy. Then you have these liberal women in these teaching positions, playing with these young children, pretty much projecting their values into these young children's minds. In these schools, you're having people from the alphabet community teach about alternative sex to these young children before they're even in their adolescent years. As you can see, so fast forward to when you're an adult. If you look at the numbers right now, like if you look at college, right, majority of membership are females. There's a higher dropout rate amongst males. If you look at the numbers, you can see that the men are struggling in these institutions, primarily because they lack an identity. They lack an identity, and they're not able they're not getting the tools they need in order to prepare themselves for manhood. I think it's good. I think the current school climate is good primarily for girls, because it complements their natural propensities. The thing is this: unless you for sure that you want to be something like a doctor or an engineer, or you want to get into the STEM or the nursing, I cannot highly recommend the school structure. To be honest with you, a young man should have the tools he needs to be able to stand on his own 2 feet and provide for a family by 16. Really, that should be the age where a young man is able to go out on his own. But when you have what you have in these schools, they're like glorified babysitting centers. So you sit there 8 hours a day. You memorize and regurgitate facts, but that's not helping the young men. And the young men who are showing an inability to conform to that kind of system, they're being put on Ritalin, on hard drugs, et cetera, et cetera. They're being kicked out. They're being put in detention. They're being penalized for showing natural masculine behaviors. And this is on purpose, of course. If you want to know the deeper meaning behind our current educational system, you got to look at the Prussian school system. Then you have to study the Rockefellers, and you have to pretty much, if you study the Rockefellers, the school system, the Rockefellers in the Prussian school system, and how those two relate to the current school climate we have today, then you'll understand what's going on. But pretty much, these these schools are pretty much incubators for corporate, for pretty much they're grooming people for the corporate plantation. And if you work in corporate America or anything like that, that's no slight onto you, but pretty much it's a way to breed corporate workers. You know what I'm saying? But today, in the industrial age, maybe that may have been a noble aim to go through the educational system and go through corporate America. Maybe you work there your entire life, you get good benefits, et cetera, et cetera. But here's the thing. Pretty much, well, how can I explain it like this? We need more builders for the reason being is that our money is a fiat currency. Now, what's a fiat currency? A fiat currency is money that's pretty much that's not backed by any type of commodity. So it's not backed by gold, it's not backed by silver, et cetera, et cetera. The US dollar used to be backed by gold. In 1913, they removed the gold standard from the dollar, and that's also the same year that the Federal Reserve was created. And the Federal Reserve is the institution that is responsible for printing the money. Now, it was put on the back on the gold standard for some time, and then it was taken off again in the 1970s during the Nixon era. Now, what does this mean for our society, and what does this mean for the currency? So pretty much, when you have a money that's not backed by anything, right, that's a fiat currency. Now, as you print more of these dollars, what happens is that you get inflation. Inflation is when the dollar devalues, and as a result, things get more expensive. The cost of things rise because the dollar is less valuable. That's why we have, that's why our living expenses rise every year, et cetera, et cetera. Now, if you look into history, every society that has used fiat currency has eventually collapsed. It's a side effect of fiat currency. It's not if, but it's when. So, you go into the corporate plantation and you're working, but the harder you work, the less money you make, because every year it's being eroded by inflation. Back when there was a gold standard and things like that, it wasn't a bad idea to maybe trade your time for money. But now, the more you work, the more money you lose, essentially. So we need more builders, people who can bring value into the world outside of just getting paper. You know what I'm saying? People who can erect structures, erect their own homes, erect their plumbing, erect, their own electricity. You know what I'm saying? People who know how to farm, people who know how to make things like clothing, textiles, shoes, et cetera, et cetera. People who know how to build and produce automobiles, things like that. Those are the skills in the time of economic crisis, in the event that this dollar goes down. Those are the skills that are going to be valuable. Those who are just trying to push paper in a corporation, eventually they're going to be replaced by robots anyway. In this, in the next coming decades, even law work, pretty soon, a lot of that is going to be, a lot of the legal research and all that will be able to be handled by AI. But in terms of, most people, push their children into the corporate plantation and through the skill system, because that means to them that signifies a better and easier life. You know what I'm saying? But just because you do something with your hands does not mean you have to kill yourself for the rest of your life. If you set yourself up wisely, you could get to the point where you no longer have to trade your time on these tasks. You can have people that will do it for you. You could set up systems and structures in place to get paid without you having to be materially involved in the work. You could take your money and buy income and income producing assets or things that yield tangible value. You could buy farms, you could own real estate, you could own livestock, you can have gold, silver, et cetera, things that in the event of severe economic collapse, you know what I'm saying, you still have your livelihood. Now, back to the school system. So, well, I pretty much went over that. It's a feminized, but yes, it's not. I think it's better for women to go through it than the young men. The young men are coming out and they have no sense of identity. They're extremely emotional and they're confused, and this isn't good, because when you have men who don't know who they are, who are emotional, who are confused, and who are angry, they start to do self-destructive things. You know what I'm saying? Oftentimes this expresses itself in a criminal manner. What else can I say? What else can I say about this in regards to the school system? Well, I don't have too much to say. I don't have too much else to say about that. But to be honest, if you're a young man watching this, the quickest way to get self-autonomy, I believe, in today's world, is to get yourself some type of trade or some type of vocation. It does not have to be a traditional one like a plumber, electrician, or anything, but any type of skill that you control and have mastery over, that you could bring to the marketplace, that will bring you value. That would be the quickest way for you to not have to be in a position where you have to live with your parents into your mid to late 20s or early 30s. It'll put you quick in a position where you're more able to be by yourself without having to have roommates, etc., where you'll be able to travel, where you'll be able to drive the things you like and live the place you need to live, and have the money you need to travel and experience the world on your own terms. Now, if you go through the corporate structure and you get this paper, once upon a time, these degrees were rare. You know what I'm saying? Most people didn't have them, but now 80 to 90% of people out here have these degrees. So what sets you apart? You know what I'm saying? It's gotten to the point where you have to battle tooth and nail even just for minimum wage jobs. Now, if you network properly and you know somebody, or maybe you're part of a country club or some type of mastermind group or some type of elite social group where you have connections, maybe you could skip all that and find yourself into a prominent and well-paying position early on in your life. But most young men coming into the world don't come from those kind of backgrounds. And when you don't come from those kind of backgrounds, you have to invest the time and the resources to get the knowledge, the game, and the polish to be able to place yourself inside those environments and get the value that you need. And most young men don't have that and aren't gonna go through that. But there's nothing wrong with getting some type of vocation. You got jewelers, you got you got people who specialize in electronics repairs. You got like cell phones, computers, things like that. You got IT people who deal with the hardware and the software side of stuff. You got appliance repair, you got plumbing, electricians, you got HVAC. There's people I know, they're mobile tire mechanics, meaning they have themselves a van and they have the tools on their truck to do, to fix tires and to swap them out on the roadside, and you can make $500 to $1,000 a day doing that, as long as you have insurance. It's not something that you need. You just need some tools and some basic training. You know what I'm saying? But what I've come to find is that it's not what you do, it's how you do it. You can make a killing flipping burgers if you have the right mindset. Because when you have the right mindset, the way you do things is what will set you apart in the market and be able to position yourself where you could gain the most value for your skill set. Just knowing how to do the work is not enough. You know what I'm saying? If you know how to do the work, you could be good at doing the work, but if you don't have the mindset and the business acumen, you just grind yourself into the dirt. That's the reason why most businesses and most entrepreneurs fall flat in the first 5 years. Primarily because they don't know how to charge correctly for their services, because we're not taught business. You know what I'm saying? Those who exist in the business class, they're hard to get in contact because with their success breeds envy and jealousy and greed, and people always looking for handouts, etc., etc. And then a lot of times when these people in these positions, they have, tried to help others in their environment and those in need, but many aren't interested. Many took their help for granted. Many people didn't take action, etc., etc. So oftentimes these people just want to be left alone and be anonymous, because they're tired of dealing with the general public. But yeah, if for whatever reason you come from a family or some type of ethnic background where you're pretty much forced to go through the institution of school, and if you were to go against the grain, it may mean your livelihood, it may mean you getting thrown out on the streets, it may mean your family excommunicating you, etc., etc. I would go for the things that will bring you the highest dollar amount. That may well, I didn't go to college. I can't speak too much about this, but you got your electricians. I mean, you got your engineers, you got your doctors, you got your lawyers, you got your STEM, et cetera, et cetera. But I would also try to find, well, that stuff, but I would also try, if there's anything in the schools that you see that have a high income potential with you using the least amount of brain power, I would try to go for that. And then when you get the money from that vocation, you could take that money and pivot to something you actually want to do, or you can invest that money to the point where you no longer have to work for money and that you working as optional, and then you could truly pursue your passion. I'm not against schooling or knowledge or education, but it's just the system that we have today is very effeminate. You don't gain any real life skills. You don't gain any of the real things that you need to know. You get a lot of garbage. And if you're a masculine man, being groomed by these women from child to adulthood, it's not really good. It's not really good for you. But the pros that I see for being in the school system is that you could gain social skills. You know what I'm saying? I would use that if you're currently involved in the school system and you see it for what it is. I would just use that opportunity to build connections with people, build relationships, build networks with people that have promise, and socially calibrate yourself. That's what I think the biggest value of the school system would be for a masculine-minded young man. But as for me, I mean, me going through that system, I didn't gain much value. I can't say I gained much value. If I would have met somebody like me when I was like 15, 16 years old, by the time I graduated high school, I would have been making more than all my teachers, even the principals, etc. So I would have been probably making more than my parents and just living life however I wanted to. It's not that difficult. It's just you're locked out because you grew up on a plantation, and they indoctrinate you with certain concepts in your mind, and certain things are withheld from you on purpose, and it takes a while for you to crack that threshold and get the things that you need. But that's all I really have to say about that. But if you're still under your parents' roof, you have to follow their rules. But while you're in school, after school or during the summertime, I would seriously look into some type of vocational skill. If you have to get a job, work at a job that will give you a skill that you could then leverage for yourself in the self-employed capacity. You know what I'm saying? And eventually, if you keep trying and if you keep searching, you'll eventually come across people who could teach you the business side, where you could leverage that into millions of dollars and beyond. Well, what else can I say about this? No, I don't have too much to say about this. I would just say, just take my advice. You know what I'm saying? That's all I can say to you. Good luck to you. I know it's not easy, but it is what it is. This is the society we live in, and these are the conditions that we find ourselves in. I know there's a lot of strange things going on, but you just have to, keep your head straight, invest in yourself, stay away from stupidity, stay away from drugs, stay away from unwanted pregnancy, stay away from toxic women, stay away from people with, low moral values, low self-esteem. You know what I'm saying? Because the people that you hang around with rub off on you. You know what I'm saying? Try to surround yourself with people who are high-minded, who are wealthy-minded, who are high performance. And like I say, if you could learn to play golf at a local country club or something like that, I'd recommend that. If you could go to like a one thing I would recommend is that there's a game called Cash Flow by the Rich Dad Company, which is owned by Robert Kiyosaki. Pretty much, if you play that board game, it's called Cash Flow 101. Back in the day, it used to be about $200. I don't know how much it is now, but they have a free version online. I would play that game because it teaches you the basic fundamentals of accounting. It pretty much well, a number of things, but pretty much it gives you the foundation of the mindset you need in order to grow and build wealth and to be an entrepreneur. It'll give you the building blocks. You know what I'm saying? That little board game. It's like Monopoly on steroids. And they have these cash flow clubs all across the country, in every state, in every city. And if you go to these clubs, you'll find people who are aspiring businessmen, people who are already wealthy, and all other kinds of people who, you convene at these clubs and you exchange information, you play these games, and you sharpen your mental Rolodex. And it'll help you so, as you go through life and you mature, you could use those same principles to put yourself in a comfortable financial position early. And you don't have to be another young, dumb person struggling check to check, week to week. You know what I'm saying? So, country clubs, well, those are expensive, but if you could take golf lessons, you got cash flow clubs. I'd also try to eat out at 5-star restaurants. Like if you could eat at a five-star restaurant like maybe twice a year, just to know what it feels like to how can I put it this way? Like they call it smelling the leather. Pretty much practicing being successful before you're actually successful. So when you do this, you could simulate what it's like to be a high performer. So, you know what I'm saying? Like go to the Mercedes dealership, sit in the Maybach. Go in the Ferrari dealership, sit in the Ferrari. Go to the Rolls Royce dealership, sit in the Rolls Royce. You know what I'm saying? Eat at expensive restaurants to know what it feels like to be in that position in life. And you can use those emotions as an anchor to propel you upward. Now, it may sound kind of esoteric, but the thing is this: there's a physical, a mental, and a spiritual component to life, and they're all interrelated. So, doing these things are not trivial, because if you feel like $1 million, right, you're more likely to attract $1 million. If you begin to dress and speak and talk and walk and simulate that in your mind and in your everyday life, you're more likely to attract the things and the people in your environment that will help you transform into that. You know what I'm saying? Now, this stuff doesn't happen overnight, but the things you do today determine who you become tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? So I would do these things, you know what I'm saying? And don't be afraid, have fun. But yeah, like I say, get some vocational skills, you know what I'm saying? Be around like-minded people who want to be where you want to be. Try to find some high performance environments that you could get yourself in, smell the leather, you know what I'm saying? And I hope things go well for you. Thank you.